It is said that the Petrojam report has spawned a scandal of historic proportions.
Yep.
Historic?
Yep. And with us, Professor Trevor Monroe, who is the Executive Director of National Integrity Action. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my friends.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica. Just going off what Sakina said, is this bigger than the light bulb and the traffic cooler and all that? Is this as big as everyone is making it out to be?
It's really very big. I mean, you don't lose $5 billion in unaccountable losses and 18 billion over a period of time. Truly, there have been previous breaches, quite substantial. In 2007, the Auditor General reported that there were breaches of procurement policy, unapproved financial spending. 2010, there was another report. 2017, this was the report by the Venezuelan auditors, and 2018. So we've had reports before, we've seen breaches of the similar kind before, but nothing of this magnitude.
And this would go back to the previous government, wouldn't it?
Of course.
What's going on at Petrojam now?
Much of what's going on now, breaches of procurement rules went on and reported on by the Auditor General in previous times, unapproved expenditures equally, but not to the magnitude of what we're seeing in this particular report. Nepotism, explicit people giving jobs to friend and company without any kind of interviews. In fact, people who are interviewed and turned down then end up with the job.
Why do you think that it had to be this big to get the kind of attention that it has now? Why weren't all of those situations that happened before brought to light?
I think, Sakina, that over the years, two things have happened. One, the public of Jamaica is becoming more aware, more alert, and more assertive. And one of the main lessons to learn is that if you speak out, not just 1 day or 2 days, but consistently, you talk loud, you speak long, there will be results. Because the Auditor General's report, if you look at the forward of it, she says that she's doing this investigation because of quote-unquote public concern. So the more we express our concern, is the more we're able to get results. When we don't express our concern, all kinds of wrongs can go on and nothing happens. In previous days, we weren't as alert, but things did happen as well. In 2007, out of that, you recall this had to do with the Cuban light bulb. And the Minister of State resigned, was actually charged, went before the courts, and was acquitted. After a number of years, the judges said that, look, there's no case to answer. You or I may disagree, but in that case, people were investigated, were charged, went before the courts. There needs to be sanctions. You and I, our mothers and fathers taught us, you know, prevention is better than cure, but if you can't hear, you must feel.
You're not a part of the security forces, obviously, but is there any criminal activity here? Can anyone be charged from what we've heard over these last little while?
Well, there are two investigations on the way now, which will hopefully settle that question, not next year or the year after, but in short order. One is the investigation by the Integrity Commission that's charged with that kind of responsibility. They also have the ability to prosecute, not just to investigate. The other is by the major organized crime anti-corruption agency, MOCA, and their investigation is proceeding. We, the public, must ask for them to proceed quickly, make their results available to us, and let the chips fall where they may. Hopefully, they will discover what all of us suspect, that what we're seeing is not just breaches of codes, but breaches of laws that should attract penalties. And again, if you can't hear, you must feel.
How do you feel about this, Professor? When you hear all this going on at Petrojam and the billions of dollars, and how do you lose the billions of dollars of oil? How do you lose that?
Well, that's one of the things that the Integrity Commission must investigate, and MOCA. Not just follow the money, but follow the oil. Where did these unexplained losses of hundreds of, tens of thousands of barrels go? That's a question that we need not and should not speculate about. We pay public officials who do a good job, as the Auditor General did. We hope that the Integrity Commission and MOCA will do an equally good job. And as I said before, punishment must follow. You can't have a game and, either no yellow card or no red card when foul taking place. And when you get a yellow card or a red card, nobody come off the field. The people watching the game will come on. Come on the field and start doing things.
How much of the weight is going to fall on the previous government in terms of responsibility for what is happening now?
Well, if you read the Auditor General's report, breaches of the procurement guidelines occurred previously, as well as human resource policy, sponsorship policy. So it spans administration.
Right, so.
But we now have a minister, or we had a minister who is no longer a minister because of public opinion.
Right.
Recall that initially he was relieved of one part of the portfolio. Prime Minister seemed to feel that he should remain in the cabinet. And again, public opinion on July 30, I think it was, Minister Wheatley tendered his resignation. So this government has to draw a line in the sand. And it cannot be simply that we speak about it, because if nothing happens, then another government will feel that they can create and make the same breaches of codes and law, and nothing will happen.
Yeah. The former Minister Wheatley said he didn't know anything about his surprise party. He had nothing to do with this $1,000 US cake. And he will.
So when he said the cake, him ask nobody where it come from.
Yeah, and then he says he will try to give back the money. He says he doesn't have that kind of money. Does that exonerate him? Not
at all. Not at all. I mean, you know, we could make all kinds of analogies in sports. I mean, if you're found committing an offense, in track, for example, doping offense, you can get suspended for a month, or you can get suspended indefinitely. Yep. Now, the nature and extent of the breakdown and the breaches of the code of ministerial responsibility under this minister, and who is to say other ministers as well, requires that exoneration can't be a question of admission of guilt. In fact, I should mention that a law has been in the process for over 3 years now, the Public Procurement Act. It passed the House, it passed the Senate, the Governor General assented to it on the 5th of October 2015. We're now on December 12, 2018. The regulations haven't yet been passed, and we have to ask why. When you look at that law, there are a couple of provisions that you should take note of. One is that where there's a breach of procurement law, as detected by the Auditor General, the Financial Secretary then has the possibility of imposing a surcharge that is equivalent to a fine equal to the amount that the delinquency would have lost.
Wow.
Now, why that don't pass? Because that's not just a restitution in relation to a cake. That has to do with your oversight in relation to breaches of so many other guidelines and laws. And secondly, that law, which still needs the regulations to be passed, provides for criminal sanctions. I think somewhere in the region of 3 months in prison and a fine of $3 million or both. Now, one of the things we need to call for, and the public needs to say, parliamentarians pass the law so that it is unambiguous, that sanctions will be applied, not just a question of saying that you're sorry, but you're going to feel it.
Yep. I'm the Minister of Energy, and I hire you as the General Manager of Petrojam. You do the foolishness, you do the rubbish, you have party and buy all kind of thing. Why should I suffer for what you did?
The code of ministerial conduct is clear. Just like how you have a code for media workers, you have a code for teachers, a code for medical profession lawyers. The minister has to take ultimate responsibility for serious, egregious breaches of policy and of operational practice. And in that regard, the code is clear. And this is why we called for the Prime Minister to relieve Minister Wheatley, and that's why he was relieved. But we need to go further than that. How are we to contemplate the restitution of that particular individual? And anyone like that, it's 190 public bodies. 190. The last time I checked, there are 163 who have reported to Parliament in accordance with law, the Public Bodies Management Accountability Act, but only 37 in good time. That is to say, within a short time, at the end of the year, the annual report. And the minister has the responsibility to ensure, as the Act says, that the minutes of meetings are sent to the ministry.
Yeah. So the Member of Parliament should have been relieved of that position, you are suggesting?
Very clearly so. Just as how Colonel Spencer had to be relieved in 2007, and many ministers have been relieved, have in fact resigned. But one of the things I noticed, is that the Caribbean, not just Jamaica, Trinidad and other countries, perhaps has the highest per capita resignations of ministers and the lowest per capita prosecution of ministers for actions related to corruption and fraud.
Well, doesn't follow, does it? Thanks a lot for coming, sir.
You're welcome. And
good to see you. Professor Trevor Monroe, Executive Director of the National Integrity Action.